Hello. This shall be our podcast. Hopefully, a bi weekly upload of a car channel kind of thing here. We have a short segment on news in the auto industry that is interesting to us. We have one vehicle bi-weekly that we're going to talk about that's maybe a little weird, a little quirky, and then some things that are just going on that we want to talk about. Probably about a 30-minute podcast. See if we can keep doing them. I have a YouTube channel called Power Toys. Put it in the description. It might be on my channel as well. And you?
Mine's all about gaming, but mine will also be in the description. Melman2996. Do plan on doing another channel for the car stuff because I actually am planning on with my old Subaru to possibly rally it since it's kind of getting old, so might as well put some kind of use.
I'm Aiden. This is Josh. So started off with some information here. The first thing that we're going to talk about on the podcast for news is the youth are giving up on owning cars. I am 21, he is 22, and he's just purchased a brand new car, so this is a little ironic, but we'll look past that. The car value change, we have a graph we're going to show on that. You want to put the graph on? So this is used car value, which we are focusing on new cars, but this graph really depicts the crisis that the automotive industry is going through right now. Having a $12,000 used car price in 2014 to 10 years later being above 18,000. 18 is a very nice answer to what it is right now, because that is not really accurate around where we're at, right?
Right. And like one thing I am gonna say is, like, especially around there we are right now, you can look, like, especially on Facebook Marketplace. There was cars on there for like $2, maybe $3 that had like maybe a little bit over 100,000 miles, and within the past, I want to say, 6 months, like, we're seeing Honda Civics that are like rotted out to hell and back, and they're selling them for like $8-9 and people are actually buying them because they don't want to either A, buy a new car, or B, they just got their taxes and they want to buy something used instead of trying to put more money down on a new car. Now, for my example, I have a 2024 Crosstrek Boldness I just bought a week ago, and I have an 08 Impreza with 350,000 miles, and you get to that point where it's like you sit there and you think about it, it's like, yeah, I don't want to buy a new car, I'm making payments, but you get in situations where you're spending money every month on a car to get it fixed, and kids in their 20s and their 30s, yeah, they're gonna keep doing that. They're gonna keep fixing a car, but you get to a certain age, you realize buying a used car kind of is pointless when you got to put more money into, like, for example, I mean, my dad owns a shop. We just had a customer buy a car for $4,000, and she just had to put another $3,000 into the car to fix it. That's worth, if she just would have bought a brand new car, that's 6-7 months of payments that she could have just had done right then and there. And kids our age don't realize that, and that's why the vehicle and, like, motorcycles, cars, trucks, all those, that economics of buying cars for the youth kind of goes downhill because they don't want to do it. They don't want to buy a new car. They don't want to buy a used car. They want to just keep whatever they have.
And they can't afford to buy a new car with the prices of new cars. But another thing to take note of is that it's not necessarily completely on the repair bill
Right.
for these old cars. It's that the value coming into them is so hard to get a good deal, even on Facebook Marketplace, places like that. When that started, it was very easy to get, a nice car, 80,000 miles for $2,500. Now you're looking at 2002 Toyota Camrys that are 150,000 miles, bringing $4,000. And that is a reflection of the current economic climate, as well as having a recession with, COVID and everything happening. The bubble has not truly popped in the new car market or the used car market because of that. And everyone really struggles from it. One of the biggest issues that we're facing is the dealer markups. Dealers marking up cars $40,000 over sticker, and people will still pay it because some people have enough money they don't care, and they just figure they have to, so they're going to pay it. And that is a bad precedent to set for the rest of us that can't afford that, especially these kids that have nowhere near enough. The only good news to bring to that is that the market is expected to fall around 5% within this year going into next year. And then I have some interesting statistics here.
Well, before we go to that part, I actually do want to throw in there is, another issue with that being is not only is car prices going up, but we've also noticed, like, for us who are, people that love to rebuild old cars, there's like, he has a 57 Chevy outside of his house right now, and then he has a Firebird up where his dad lives. When we were first starting back in COVID time, cars were cheap. Cars were cheap during COVID because no one was doing nothing, so everyone was just trying to find some way to either make money or do something, because a lot of jobs got put down in the hole because of COVID. So, parts were cheap, cars were cheap, and with that being said, now after everything cleared up and everything reopened, like, you can't even get an oil filter for fucking not even $5 anymore. It's like $20 for some of them now,
Yeah.
and it's a sad thing to say that, but it's also for all the reason why is like a lot of, maybe in your area, I know quite a few of our shops around here actually closed because they can't keep the doors open because they're trying to compete with their same prices, but they can't because they got to be able to afford the new parts. Like,
for reference, we're in Pennsylvania, so we're not even in the worst of it. I mean, you're on the farther ends of the coast, so you're looking at a lot worse, a lot higher prices, especially if you're on the West Coast. But, so some statistics here. Something that always comes to mind when I talk about car prices is people always go back to, oh, well, cars were cheaper back in the 60s and 70s, but we weren't making as much. Well, we did a little bit of math, did the calculations on the inflation rate. Today, we're in Pennsylvania, an average income of $58,000 is here. An average car price currently is $47,433. In 1960, I could not find a Pennsylvania because no one's looking up what the average income in Pennsylvania in 1960 was, but across the United States, the average income in 1960 was $5,600. That equates to an inflated rate of $56,000, about $10,000 per every 1,000. This is where it gets real bad. The average car price in 1960 was $2,600. Remember, the average income was $5,600. So, adjusted for inflation, the difference is $21,000 more today than it was in 1960, with both prices adjusted for inflation. That is exponentially higher. There's no denying that the values have increased far beyond what the wage is. The wage has not met the demand for these new cars. It's unbelievable.
And actually, we got the other graph that we can show that can actually show the differences too on why the prices have changed during inflation on some of these actually certain car brands, such as a lot of our American diehard cars. Inflation really messed them up a lot. You can see, especially Dodge at the bottom there, which actually me and him were quite shocked to see Chevy down at the bottom because we see a lot of Chevys. And you know, you sit there and you think about I mean, this is just from December of last year to March. It's not a big gap. And
obviously, if you're for Chevy, I don't exactly know what that is for, because I know that Chevy is like the dominant big three right now in the States. But Dodge definitely makes sense because they are pretty much, with their choices lately, have killed themselves. It's rough over there at the Dodge camp, the Chrysler especially.
Yeah, because if you guys notice, last year of 2023 was the last year of the Chrysler 300, and that was one of their most selling large four-door sedans. I mean,
Sir, yeah, pretty much. Other than, unless you're, I mean, that's the only Chrysler.
well, you had the
You
small
got
one,
Dodge.
the Chrysler 200, too, the smaller one. Those are
Did anyone buy the 200?
I very rarely seen that. Everyone bought the Chrysler 300 because it came with the 5.7
And it was
Hemi.
awesome. The
It
300
was.
was very neat. And then they threw out the C again, like they did in the 2010s, and it did well as its final hurrah as well. But now the only thing you can buy from Chrysler is the Chrysler Pacifica,
which is a minivan, and they're not cheap, and they have lots and lots. Which I'm surprised to see Chrysler above Jaguar and Dodge. You know, especially because, you know, a lot of, especially Jeep. I mean, you know, I see a lot of Jeeps.
A lot of Jeeps on the road still.
And not too many Chrysler, especially, well, since of 2024, because everyone kind of got rid of their Chrysler 300s for the Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger. And then now they're getting rid of those cars because of Dodge's choice of making an electric muscle car.
That's not going to help them one bit. That's not looking good. Everything from the video, I'm sure you guys have seen how embarrassing that whole production was. Not in terms of like idea. I don't mind the idea as much as I cannot stand the way they went about it. It's just very cringy with like the donuts in the parking garage.
Yeah.
It was way too try hard on all that kind of stuff.
Like, my honest opinion, I think they should have did some. I think they should went a whole new route on that conception of an electric car. You know, I don't know if you've seen it, but they came back out with the Dodge Hornet. Now the only difference is it's not a muscle car; it's an SUV.
Yeah, and it's also, not only is it not a Dodge, it's I think it's a Fiat, like just a copy and paste Fiat.
Yeah,
I forget what the Fiat car is, but it is just a Fiat SUV that they put a little B on.
Now, I didn't understand why they would do that. I mean, if you think about, if you can actually, if you watch a video about the Dodge Hornet, the way the lug nuts are. A lot of you German guys know this because Volkswagen does it. Mercedes does this. It's not a lug nut on a stud. It's a stud that goes into the hole of the wheel hub. Dodge has started doing that since 2022, and as I think 2020 they started doing it on their Rams. You don't want that on a truck. Especially like your 3500 diesels that have a lot of torque. You know, you need a lot of leverage with lug nuts and studs. That's why if you a lot of people have like them huge ass studs with huge ass lug nuts because they need to be able to handle the torque. You know, you're talking about maybe like the ring finger size of a stud that goes into a hole. Yeah, granted, there's 8 of them, but it's not going to be able to withstand that. And a lot of people backed away from Dodges because of that. And that's why you're starting to see Dodge at the bottom here with the price drops. Not because they're not making good money or they're not selling their products, but because they went down so far in the rabbit hole that they're causing themselves to be in debt because they are paying off. When we looked at this, there was 26 companies they're partnered up with, and
Yep.
not a single one is American.
Yep, they're all. I believe they're all.
I think it's Italian, and I think now they're actually now they partner up with more, which one of them is a German one.
Yeah, but there's also satellite companies involved that are
Mhm.
from China. So that's obviously not good, no matter how you look at it. One of the most involving the whole Challenger, Charger, Daytona, whatever they're calling it now. One of the best takes I've heard on it was from a YouTuber I watch regularly called Uncle Tony's Garage. Um, he had the idea that in the 60s, you had the option to get a very bare bones muscle car. You could get a car with the bucket seats, the 4 on the floor, or a 3 on the tree if you're really cheap. You know, the
One of the best
crank
manuals ever.
windows, the best. Crank windows. I think you can get no radio. It's a little before my time.
Really? No radio?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. You could pretty much get absolutely nothing. Um, so, and that was very common to be able to make your car as light as possible and to go as fast as possible on a budget. So, the idea that he proposed was Dodge acts as this whole new Daytona thing. Uses the car, they can use the car as the internal combustion 6-cylinder. I actually love the straight 6. I don't like the idea of killing the Hellcat line.
No.
I don't understand their whole reasoning behind it. Like the government is cracking down on them so hard because Ford is still producing the Mustang with V8s as long as they can do it, as they said. No foreseeable future without a V8 in a Mustang. So there's no excuse for that. It's just the one for change. I think there should be an option for a supercharged V8 and an internal combustion inline 6. But there should be an option for one of those Daytona cars to be the largest battery you could put in a car and the largest motors and strip it down to like just metal inside. The bucket seats, maybe a rubberized floor,
Well,
no
bare metal
headliner.
floor.
Yeah, just a race car. And that would really pay heritage to what they did in the 60s truly, as they're trying to mimic the mockery of what they're really doing right now.
Now, like you even think like you coming back to you talk about the Hellcats and like even the Demon motors. A lot of people might know this, but they started sticking them in trucks because they were so hyped about this motor, and it performed well. It did well. Granted, it was also a $96,000 truck, but you compare it to like the Ford EcoBoost. It's a single turbo V6 motor. Or you can even get the F-150 in a naturally aspirated V8. But everyone went for the V6 EcoBoost because it was great on gas, it was great hauling, towing, and the Hellcat just seemed to be one of those trucks where you can make it a workhorse and also have fun.
The TRX?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most reliable motors they actually ever made, even though it was just a Hemi with a supercharger.
The only issues I've heard of those having is the oil pan they've had issues. I forget what vehicle it was they put it into. Maybe it was
I think it
doing
was
the
a
red
charge.
eye or something,
Yeah.
to where the oil pickup under hard acceleration would lead to no oil getting to the pickup, and you'd end up frying your motor way too prematurely. But I believe that was remedied, and it's not an issue now. Not that they're even I mean, they're done making them, so you're not gonna have to worry about that. Uh, but definitely, I'd say is one of the better motors that has been pushed out by that company in a long time. Probably since like the 318.
Now, another thing that we are starting to experience, GM is actually closing one of their doors soon, probably within the next 3-4 years, of one of their luxury companies, Buick. Now, Buick was one of their cheaper ends of luxury. So, people didn't want a Chevy, but people also couldn't afford a Cadillac. They wanted a mixture of both. So, Buick was one of those kind of situations where they can have
Like
luxury,
Mercury.
like Mercury from Ford. But they noticed that a lot of people don't buy Buicks no more. And if you kind of look at it at a perspective of which name of GMs sell the most. Chevy, Cadillac, GMC. Not a lot of Buicks have sold a lot lately. Because, let's face it, Chevy is starting to look like Cadillacs from the Chevy dealers on a lot of their vehicles. Because you can literally take everything that's in a Chevy and put it right in a Cadillac right now. So people's like, well, if I want something that looks like a Cadillac, I might as well just buy a Chevy. And I actually, one of these the chart that we have right here, I actually seen a newer one a couple days ago about the Chevy Cadillac. It was just between all the GM products of the past 6 months, and Chevy and GMC's are the top two, obviously because of trucks, and then Cadillac was third in line, and Buick was going the opposite direction of the rest of them. And that would be because they haven't really made anything new. They haven't really changed the body style, except for they changed the emblem. It's not in a circle no more. It's just the Buick sign without a circle on one of their newer vehicles, and it's an electric car.
Something interesting that boggles me that they're making a push. Dying car manufacturers and the small offshoots of them trying to go EV to save themselves is like throwing a toaster into a burning building to stun the fire. It is incredible how dumb that is. Like, not only are they not selling very well, you're not selling an EV very well. So what is the idea there? You're trying to hit them with a double negative to try to make the positive. That's not going to work. So don't ditch the EV route. But something I found out that was pretty interesting is that China, for the longest time, was one of the biggest consumers of Buicks because they thought that's what we drive. And I guess maybe they have found out that we here in America do not drive Buicks anymore. So they're not as interested, and they're not as interested in our culture, I don't think, as they were in the 70s and the 80s nearly as much.
Now, something else that's actually came into my mind lately is a lot of people are buying these newer American cars. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's no more shifter in the middle. There's no more shifter on the column. It's either you press a button to put yourself out of reverse neutral drive, or you spin a dial. As of right now, there's only two companies that haven't switched over to that feature that I know of. Is one is Subaru and the second is Toyota. Except I think maybe on their RAV4. No, the RAV4s have them too, even their hybrids. But Dodge was like one of the first American ones to have the dial. And their bad placement, which caused a lot of people to have bad transmission, was to put it right next to the volume for the radio. Now, a lot of people were like, I would never grab that, right? Imagine you're going on the highway at 70 mile an hour, because that's how PA speed limits are in this goddamn state. You go to turn down the radio and you're not paying attention what you grab, and you just went from drive to neutral or all the way to park.
I would have to imagine that there's a lockout. There's no way. We just all
The-
completely electronic.
They finally did put a lock on it.
Finally?
So when they first came out with it, they didn't have a locking mechanism on it. So if you were in cruise control and off the throttle and you just threw it in neutral, kind of like how if you had a situation and wanted to shift to one, you could throw the car in neutral and continue coast, but you couldn't go in reverse. Well, there was no locking mechanism on this. Now, Ford started doing this with the buttons on the radio, but the way, like, on a Lincoln MKZ, newer, like 2017, they have it right here, right next to the radio. It's like, it looks like a bunch of like buttons for the radio. Well, they have the push to start, park, reverse, neutral, drive. So right underneath above park was the push to start, but it blended in with the rest. Now, there was a lot of people that would accidentally keep pressing that button. I mean, it wasn't like it was a bad feature of the buttons, but, you know, why get rid of something that was working? I understand that people are always trying to come up with something new, but sometimes it just, one, doesn't help. Second, one of them dial fucking shifters costs more than like a shifter that's in my car. You know, my shifter is like a $300 thing to repair, and it doesn't need to be reprogrammed or anything like that. You know, you're looking at a $500 part, man. Depending on what dealership you go to, they might charge you from $1,000 to $2,000 just to reprogram it with their Snap-on scanner or their specialized scanner, and that's why a lot of people are also steered away from buying these new cars, and
You can't work on it.
can't work on nothing, and that's why a lot of shops close.
And that's the goal, ultimately, is to corner shops out of the market. So your dealership is the only one that can. I mean, it's been happening with warranties forever. You can't do oil changes on your car anymore. It's pushing all the work to the dealerships, so they get both ends of the deal. But that's going to end our segment on the news. Now we're going to do our car of the week. So Josh actually found this one. It's pretty good. I think you guys will like it.
I bet a lot of you guys didn't know back in the 90s, no, late 90s, that some companies were actually starting to do EVs. Today I was looking up something for a 99 Chevy S10, and I found out that apparently they came with an EV motor. I was very confused. So, if you look here,
You read the first, I'll read the second.
General Motors started with a regular cab, short box, 6-foot bed, S10, with a base model trim package, and that was a common truck to see for S10s. Not a lot of people got the extended cab, which was a one door on one side. But the thing that actually made me keep reading this segment was to find out that there was another company that decided to make an EV2 that they were trying to compete against. But in a place of a typical inline 4-cylinder or V6 internal combustion chamber, the electric S10 EV was equipped with a 85 kilowatt, which is 114 horsepower, 3-phase liquid-cooled AC induction motor, based on GM's EV1 electrical coupe. The EV1 had a 100 kilowatt motor. GM reduced the S10's EV's motor output because of the additional weight and drag of the truck, so as not to overstress the batteries. Now, when you're looking at this photo, where do you think the batteries were on this? Just out of curiosity.
I would hope underneath.
That's where we're dead wrong.
Haha, great.
They had some batteries that was underneath the hood, and then
Don't say they're in the back. Don't say they're in the
about
back.
a corner of the bed had 4 more batteries. There's a little corner.
Bed. Oh, I bet it's less efficient than an internal combustion motor. Similar to the Gen 1 EV1s, there were lead acid battery and nickel metal hydrate battery options. The 1997 Chevrolet S10 EV used a lead acid battery pack, manufactured by Delco Electronics. Is that just AC Delco?
Yeah.
The 1,400-pound battery pack. Oh, 1,400-pound battery pack. The truck weighs like 2,000 pounds total. Yeah, that's a lot of weight. And it's not even centralized underneath the truck. It's also in the bed, which means it's a little more top heavy than it should be.
Well, the batteries in the bed was to control like your lights, your wipers, and the rest of your
Okay.
car. But 4 batteries to control all that. That's a lot of
The
batteries.
battery pack consisted of 27 cells, with one being designated as the auxiliary cell. These reportedly offered 16.2 kilowatt hours for propulsion. In 1998, the Ovonic nickel metal hydrate battery pack was also available. These batteries were lighter. Oh, 1,000 pounds, Josh! That's pretty good. We've knocked off 350 pounds of weight. How good? Now you can fit more fat chicks. It had a combined 29 kilowatt hours of storage for longer range. You can make it to the beer store now. So, yeah, you want to take us on charging?
So, before I get to that segment, how fast do you think this vehicle went? Top speed? Early 90s.
Without looking at it, I'm going to have to say 50.
That's where you're dead wrong, sir.
Again?
I hate to tell you this, but the top speed of this bad motherfucker here was 25.7 miles an hour.
You can't even legally make it to the beer store if you're in the
They-
country.
They only sold this vehicle in California.
Of course. But it was assembled
In Louisiana. Which
Ooh.
was crazy, but it's funny how in Louisiana they didn't even sell it there because no one would be able to buy it because it only came in front wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, no full wheel,
Well,
no nothing.
to be fair, the people in Louisiana are a tad bit smarter than the people in California. So I don't think they'd want to buy this hunk of shit.
But the Ford Ranger,
That might be the next one we come.
yeah, what I'll save that for next time. 'Cause
I wonder how long this thing takes to charge.
All right,
Range 45 miles! Oh, no!
that's it. But that's if you're only running at 16.2 kilowatts. But if you're running at 2.9 or 229 kilowatts an hour, 95.3.
Highway range, you get 60 miles. And
Yeah,
a constant 45 miles an hour! My man, what highway are you on?
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think there's a highway. It's 45.
No, not around here.
No.
Maybe a gravel highway in the Canada.
The S10 EV chargers using the mains charger. Magne?
Magne?
We don't know how to fucking say these words. Okay.
We're not very smart. We just like to do this kind of stuff.
Produced by General Motors subsidiary Delco, which is AC Delco Electronics. The inductive charging paddles is the model J1773 or the large paddle.
I don't think they care about this. I was just trying to do the highlights here.
I know, but
Read the efficiency. That's the thing that really is funny.
why would they call it the large paddle? This isn't.
It's also aquatic.
Apparently, it's a sexual truck that likes the large paddle.
Sexual
It's being
S10.
whacked on the ass with it.
Sexual S10. Depending on the load and driving conditions, the range can vary greatly. For the 1997 model with lead acid battery packs, city range was 45.5 miles.
Don't forget
The
the
mixed city highway range was 47. That's not a great improvement. The highway range was 60 miles. if operating consistently at 45 miles per hour or less. The acceleration time 0 to 50. It doesn't go to 60. No 60. 0 to 50. So it does do more than 25. That's good. 0 to
13.5
50
seconds.
is 13.5 seconds, which is not good. That is pretty bad. And the truck is very small, not very heavy.
The Chevy Malibu Classic can do better.
It does do better than that. It was governed at 70 miles an hour, and that is definitely for the best.
Yeah, because I don't think the battery would last long enough to make it to 70.
I don't think the brakes were equipped to handle such a heavy S10.
No.
You're dealing with tiny single piston caliper in the front and drums in the back to stop a 4,200 pound S10 now. So, yeah, there's no, and then God forbid you put something in it. You're hauling a refrigerator. You're running over a whole school bus. Everything is gone. All the kids are dead. So I'm glad they didn't go into full production with that at the time. That would have been very bad.
Can you imagine they still made that today?
They are.
Whoa.
They are. That's the funny part. They're doing it in Europe right now with buses, and they're burning they're spontaneously combusting, and lithium-ion batteries boom, poof, burn instantly, and it's happened to multiple buses in Europe, and now they're experimenting doing it on school buses, which is obviously just naturally what you're going to be gravitated to, because you're in Europe, very close to Germany, and you know how they like to burn people. So we're going to move on to the next thing, which would be just talking about what we're up to in life, and we're going to close out because we're already over the time limit here. I'm going to probably get this done in 3 minutes so we don't keep it too much longer.
Well, the only thing I can say I've been doing, been working with my dad at his shop. Eventually planning on putting the poor 08 Impreza. Either put it to sleep or I think rally. It sounds
I'm
a
going to
little
show
bit
him a
better.
picture of your Impreza, and I'll talk for a little bit while you pull one up. I have been working on my channel, uploading regularly there. Right now, I've been putting gauges in. That video will be up soon if it's not already. So yeah, I have a 57 Chevy. If you're from my channel, you already know that. I also have an 89 Firebird and a couple other vehicles, 97 Crown Vic. I work on all of them. I'm not a mechanic. He is. I just love cars. And so yeah, I wrench all the time. You can check out my channel. I do that stuff a lot. We work together on a lot of things.
Especially the Firebird.
The Firebird, yeah, we put a new motor in, and he's going to be doing kind of the same thing, and he's going to be featured on my channel a lot as well.
That's not going to be a very clear photo. The Logitech is doing so good.
I'll probably pull this up to full. That didn't help.
No, it didn't. But yeah, on the other channel, which I haven't thought of a name of that one yet. But if I think of a name before I upload the video, obviously I'll leave it down in the description. His shit will be in the description, and then my gaming channel, which I might not even include that because it's all about cars. But other than that,
Yeah, we're aware that podcasts are like a slow growing thing, you know. But if anyone, we got 5 people that like to listen. We're just getting together and shooting the shit here into the camera. So this is fun regardless of how many views we get. But if you guys like it, let us know. And
if you want us drunk next time,
we will cover the Ranger shitface. The EV Ranger.
could you imagine how that would go?
Something like it broken. Or we might buy one.
We'd be looking off Facebook Marketplace for a fucking Ford. I got it. You'll get, since you're the Chevy guy, you'll get the Chevy S10 EV.
Yeah,
I'll get the Ranger EV, and we'll see which one's faster.
we plan on doing another project together soon, getting our hands on a nice Ford Festiva, and doing some off-roading possibly, and then maybe some rally content. I'm gonna probably work on his car on my channel, as well as his, I'd assume, and try to get that car ready for some off-roading because it's for all practical uses kind of done being on the road.
Yeah, because it's getting to a point. Motor still runs great and transmission, but body, I think it being chopped up in a little bit of pieces here and there will be more efficient
Yes.
instead
No
of
fenders.
no fenders.
Lifted.
Dude, lifted sounds nice. Doing
Just
that-
a little bit, maybe like a 3-inch lift, because if you're gonna drift it, you don't want to be too high up.
No, put it at 8-inch.
8-inch, 35s.
The chrome spinners.
The money symbol rims.
Like the
All
one in
right.
GTA.
Well, thanks for joining us on the podcast here, and let us know what you think. We should do more, whatever. Or if not, you don't want us to do more, that's okay too. We're still gonna do it. But we'll
Yeah,
catch
fuck
you on
you.
the next one, and hope you guys have a good rest of your day. See ya.
Peace.